Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. I was recently thinking about the gift and burden of memory and how our type of interactions with others will dictate what kind of memories we have. And a lot of feminists encourage behaviors that bring in a lot of traumatic memories, and that is an aspect of hookup culture that cannot be ignored. And the older I get, and the more time I spend thinking, self-reflecting, I don't want to say meditating because that's not Islamic. What I really mean what I'm trying to verbalize is being very pensive and having these silent moments where I have white noise on and I'm listening to the sound of the rain or the ocean or a campfire. And I'm just replaying things, like just seeing where my mind will go, what it thinks about, and a lot of it is memories. And I started further examining how isolation is a form of torture that was used by many regimes throughout history, many empires. And prison in and of itself was supposed to make people think about their poor choices, right? This is what we hear. And when they're in the cells, memories come up. And then they think either they're tortured by their memories or they're propelled by their memories, sustained by their memories, right? And the good balance of the good versus the bad when it comes to memories. And how do you make sure your life isn't just filled with vice, anger, resentment, and sadness and agony? And a lot of that is avoiding sin. And if you go along further in the string of reasoning of mine that I've been doing, there's a common thread amongst drug addicts is that they're trying to escape trauma. Yet the drugs propel them into further trauma. In order to buy the drugs, they go into some very sketchy areas. And even if you do the liberal safe injection sites, they're really sitting around in a room with people who are passed out, who probably haven't showered, they smell. It's a very sad scene. They're not being productive members of society. They're not gaining knowledge. They're literally spending time just being high and just being a burden on society. And so, same thing with alcohol and bars, by the way. But women will get drunk, get high, hook up with people. Something will go wrong because when you're high, you're not stable. And when they're high, they're not stable. There's bound to be a negative interaction. It's just a numbers game. You're encountering people who have trauma, and their mind is a roller coaster. And it's sporadic. You don't know what mood they're going to be in next. And if someone has like bipolar disorder or schizophrenia, and then they mix in drugs, well, now you have someone who's completely off the rocker. And they're going to lash out at you. And if they're taking something very hallucinogenic, they can not even see really who you are, remember who you are, and totally lash out and harm themselves. And then, even though you're high, you're still going to have glimpses of that traumatic moment, and now you have PTSD, and now you want to self-medicate, and then continue the drugs, and then you mix in music with that, and music triggers memories, music triggers emotions, and now you are this whirlwind, tornado, tsunami of uncontrolled emotions, and you don't know how to self-regulate, and the spiral continues. So, if we avoid free mixing with men as much as possible, if we guard our spiritual purity in a good way, right? We are doing what we're supposed to do in terms of avoiding music that triggers adrenaline and cortisol to be violent. We avoid women who are selling themselves or glorify witchcraft and occultism. We avoid people who sell and manufacture narcotics. We're doing everything we can to stay on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's straight path, with the Sharia as our moral compass, to guide us through a very tumultuous planet. You know, we live on a very violent planet. It has its beauty, no doubt, its wonderful wonders, quite literally. But that doesn't mean we have to let our guard down because there's a beautiful mountain and the leaves look nice during fall. And so Memories, they can help you to become stronger or become weaker. The more wicked the memory, the more it becomes a thorn and a burden to bear until you go to the grave. There's something to think about. And so, if more people focused on how do you keep your memories good about you, how do you make it to where you avoid traumatic situations, you will see that the more you study the hadith and apply the Quranic teachings we find in the ayats of the Quran, that you will be more safeguarded. Like these sort of rails on the road, fences in life. No. Sorry, my toddler tried to steal my coffee. And so you will notice that you'll be more safeguarded. And atheists, their system is likely to change and shift based on cultural things at the time. What they pushed in the 90s as behaviors that were acceptable changed. If you look at how Halloween costumes you were allowed to dress in this certain way, and then years later, people are getting canceled for dressing like that. They're constantly shifting, and it's not a way to stay safe. Whereas in Islam, we have a system that has been given to us for quite a long time, and the more you adhere to it and apply to it, you will see consistent patterns of goodness that come about. And each system is going to have pros and cons. And you can't escape something that negatively affects you. So if you're going to stay sober, a consequence of that is you're going to have to find other ways to handle stress and trauma. That is a consequence. Consequences are both positive and negative. And so when I use the word consequences, it literally just is a synonym for results, even though it sounds a bit negative, depending on how you're looking at it, right? And so if you ask someone, what's the consequence of being sober? You could literally say, well, you're going to have to handle trauma in a more productive manner. So through going on hikes, painting, exercising, gardening, fishing, boating, jet skiing, you name it, there's lots of activities that for your particular situation, they might not be as grandiose as you like, but they are still effective if you frequently apply them. And so you can control a lot of the type of memories you're harboring and gathering throughout life if you stick to the Sharia and you don't joke about, right? You don't suddenly think, you know what, I'm just going to go all wild out and gather it. Because a lot of people come back really depleted, really distorted. And when you see a lot of broken women, you'll notice that there's a consistent pattern of excessive trauma. And a lot of that trauma comes from relationships, haram activities, and the lack of affection and loyalty. And you cannot be loyal to the den of vipers. You cannot find loyalty in people who engage in haram, because that's just not their world. You can't expect a Labradoodle dog to treat you like a wolf, and you cannot expect a crocodile to have the same behavior patterns as a guinea pig. You can't expect certain things from different animals. Likewise, with certain personality traits and people and value systems, you can't expect something. And so the value systems of Islam, you will see in other religious sects, different atheistic cults and whatnot, even certain political parties, you name it, certain temporal social justice movements, they're going to fizzle out. There's a lot of self-eating, and it's not really something you can bank on. And if you know that as you travel through life, it's a consistent pattern of gathering memories, you want to avoid the bad traumas, not to the point where you become blind, but rather you're guided, and you're going to face hardship and trials no matter what. We know that in Islam. But the difference is the kind that break you or the kind that sort of help you to see where you went wrong. You can gather more like introspection from it, I would truly do believe that if you avoid a lot of intoxicants and you avoid a lot of the criminality we have out there, you can cut so much of that stress from your life. And you'll be given different types of stress, but there'll be pressures that make you into that sort of diamond instead of ash, in a way. And so, think about in your life the gift and burden of memory and how you're going to go along managing that. Because I do find it quite relevant that when people are attacking Islam, they don't really think about the type of memories that you will get when you adhere to the Sharia correctly and apply it to your life, the Quran and Sunnah, and hopefully more people can do that mental exercise and see what they come up with. Alright, just wanted to do that quick video. Let me know what you think. Until next time.